Hey friends and family, hey loved ones, hey fools. Hey, I'm just showing up today because I have received some potent messages and wanted to share a few of those, and we'll just see how it goes. So, where to begin? Just be right here and be where I'm at. Be here where I am. And so, I shared a dream the other day or last time that I was having. It was a caregiver dream, and there was some good messages in there for me. There was a couple of different themes, and one of the themes that kept coming up, and I've noticed in the last couple of videos, something about my face. Like, I just want to smack her face, or I just want to, or the stupid hurts the face, or whatever. And so it's just like, okay, I get it. Like, what do I get to face? Like, what is it that I need to confront and face? And yeah, it was just kind of staring me in the face right there. So I had noticed that like the last like week or two, like where different symbols or correspondences would come up, and like the face was always there. So it was like, what do I get to face now? So yeah, just looking at some things. So there was some things that I was in resistance to, but I was just willing to continue and just notice it and acknowledge it when it came up, and just work through it, work with it, play with it, and just allow myself, the choice of, following through or procrastinating or letting it go, And so, yeah, I feel like it's just been like a strange week, really. It feels like time is just flying by so fast, and it's like the quickening. But what wants to be said about this? So, yeah, I went back and I looked at my new moon intentions and went over my list, and I had like actually completed like some different things, and it was like easy because it was just like kind of, I'm willing, I want, this is what I want, and this is what I'm willing to receive, this is what I'm willing to show up for. And then like as things would open up and just be like, find myself naturally drawn to what I wanted to create, and it's just like that was like the effortless actions and stuff. But there was a couple things on the list that it was just like, I hadn't gotten around to yet. And so it was just like, okay, what am I most in resistance to here? And like, what's that about? Like, and just looking into some of those things. But kind of feeling like some of the emotional fatigue or the empath overload in certain ways. So just kind of giving myself permission to take care of me and to rest and just to play, and just reminding myself to enjoy life, because it's about, enjoying what's here and being present and receiving the gifts that are here. I know I can get like really focused and like, on tasks sometimes, and like kind of feel like sometimes like don't want to deal with any nonsense, and I have felt impatient, like where sometimes I feel like plenty patient, but then other times I get like really frustrated and impatient with this process, and impatient with myself, and feeling like impatient with others sometimes, like where things don't seem like they're moving fast enough. But they are, really. It's like maybe we're moving too fast and we get to slow down to ground, And so I thought that was interesting last time that I shared about earth, even though I was like really wanting to share more about fire. And it's kind of funny where, the energies were transitioning from a fire sign into an earth sign. And so I thought it was, that was like perfect. And I didn't realize till like right after, like, I had recorded that video that's like, oh yeah, Taurus, Taurus, we're coming into Taurus right now. And so, yeah, I got to listen to some astrology this afternoon that like confirmed some of the things that I received this morning. So I was like always loved that, like the continual flow of like, yeah, trusting and letting go, and like seeing what the universe like has to offer, and that is available, and that's always being presented and given to us in the present. And so it was, that's kind of fun. So like, there's a lot of things to tie in here because it is all about everything. And so the emotional fatigue and just wondering how everyone else is doing, like, because we have been through a lot, and I was just wondering, like, does anyone else feel like an energetic hangover, kind of in a way? And like just kind of burnout, or like almost burnout from like the continual mind fuckery and the emotional ups and downs and the spiritual psychological warfare happening, the fear mongering and the fear porn. And so it was just like, seems like I'll have an easy day, like a light and bright day, like, oh man, everything feels so like good and possible and like so much lighter today. And then the next day it'll be like kind of a draggy day where it's just like, oh, everything seems so heavy and so just like I'm underwater sometimes. And yeah, that's interesting. So today is one of those days where it felt kind of hard, and there is some stuff coming up just to be moved, to allow and just surrender and release and allow to move through. And so just like, just feeling a little bit sad and depressed today about, certain things, and just upset in other ways. But like, I know it has to do with my dream about separation anxiety. And so these are some of my survival strategies being activated. And so like with the observer, I've been able to watch and witness and uncover like, what certain things are about and where they're sourcing from. And that's been interesting. So there was a couple of things. So I did a tarot reading the other day, because that's just one of my things I'm practicing and I'm learning, like different spreads, so that I can get comfortable and familiar, like and confident with myself, and then I can start to engage and practice and play with others and offer them readings and like learn more. So that's what I've been doing. So that was a pretty great practice for me, and it was affirming, and it was all about change and transition, and like this is the time of transition and change, but like it is like that in between time. And so I got that I did like a Celtic cross spread, and so I did 10 cards for that. And then there was a bonus card that like jumped out of the deck. And so the 10 cards that I used that I got were like from the major arcana, because I just did like a little pile from the drawing from the major arcana, like the 22 cards. But the one card that jumped out from the deck, like, after I'd separated the major from the minor, was like the Knight of Wands. And so I decided to keep that. And the Knight of Wands is a time of movement, journey. You are on your way to meet something, or it is coming into your life. Things are in a state of transition, a stirring or turbulence in the air, tension. So I was like, it feels a little like, it feels a little tense right now, but not like any more tense than it has in the last little while, in the last year or two. So it was just like, but today it definitely feels that way. And it, that's kind of what feels at play is that tension. Hold the tension between the two so the third point of view can come through. Yeah, the third can come through. So, yeah, it's just what I wrote down, a couple things in like a summary of like this reading, and that, yeah, all it is as it is meant to be right now. Like, and yeah, so take accountability and own your power to create, destroy, endure, and sustain new changes. Yeah, new ways of relating, operating, and being in the world. Conscious responsibility, participation, and the freedom to be. Stretch your comfort zones, embrace the new, true story of being one right here. We have confronted our fears and we are strong. We are supported right here. Trust yourself and all the love that you hold dear. Be patient, have faith, all will be revealed. It's time to fly and break through. Yeah. So, yeah, and then I just added like some things too about like follow your dreams, fool. Follow your dreams, fool. And follow your heart, follow your passion. It's who you are. Love, follow your soul, love who you are. Love all you love all you are. Love your whole self with your whole heart. Love your whole self with your whole heart and soul. All one love we are. Yeah, the love we are. Do what you love, choose all you love, be what you love, serve all you love. Be who you love, free all you love, enjoy all you love. Enjoy all you love. Live all you love all you live, give what you love, and love what you give. So, yeah, that's awesome. And so, yeah, I was looking into some things and continuing with certain stories and, yeah, going back to reread certain things and, yeah, revisit certain things, review certain things. And what I got to see too was like, yeah, the mythologies and the stories that are coming up. And I had mentioned Psyche and Eros in the last one or two videos. And yeah, just looking at those stories and the shadow wounds of the feminine. And then, like, yeah, this is what I get to confront and face, like some of these things that are missing, which I keep having dreams the last couple days too about firing guns, and there's misfires and stuff. And it's like, and then the other day when I was writing down mess, I put miss, and I was like, oh, is there something missing? What am I missing? You know? And so it was just like little clues that seem like little oops, but it's actually, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's the trickster at play. So it's funny. And so just like looking at the sticky mess that was made and like the characters in the play and the dream, and yeah, the one that I had a grievance or a disagreement with and that I didn't like her, like, and I was silently communicating to her that I don't like her and I know what you're about and I'm on to you, kind of a thing. Yeah, and it's also like me turning the tables around on like the dream I had last week where the adversary was stalking me. So it was like, okay, I get to face this now. But just kind of looking into some of those wounds and of the feminine, the shadow, you know, the wounded feminine, and with the rejection, betrayal, and abandonment, and all of that. And so, looking at the envy, jealousy, suspicion, and lack of intimacy, those stories, those themes, because they're coming back around again. And it is interesting because those things came up really strongly in June, around the time of the eclipse. And I always have like a very intense time during the eclipses. It's just been that way as long as I can remember now, at least for the last decade, where it's like very powerful, potent time for me to do my work. And like also like when there's different aspects, like in my astrology chart with Saturn, that's always kicks my butt. And so that's going on right now too. And so I was like, okay, this makes sense while this is coming up now for me. And like, yeah. And it helps a lot, like just to know what it's about or what it relates to in certain ways. So I can like, okay, I'm willing. So, yeah. So, the Hamless Maiden, I've been working with that story for a little bit as well. And, yeah, looking at the underground forest and things, and some really cool synchronicities that came up the other day. Well, I think yesterday. They all blur together now. So I like to flip open my books, like when I just get a nudge or an impulse to, or something just draws me to it, or it's drawn to me. And so, yeah, I opened it up in the Science and Symbols source book, and it was like the sacred grove. And that was a natural place of worship dedicated to the goddess. And it was really interesting to look at the symbolic meanings of that sacred grove and of different trees, and especially like how it applies to the underground forest and the Handless Maiden tale, and going into the underworld and those things, and also like the symbolic representation of like the tree of life and all of that, and then the apple tree as the elemental feminine and all of that. And so like I really appreciate all of these things and these messages that I've been receiving, and these symbols, and the answers that I've asked for, the answers to my prayers that I've asked for help with. And so it's just pretty awesome. The sacred grove, and then lightning keeps coming up as well. And the tower was the card in my resolution card in my reading, which, lightning, the lightning from the tower that awakens us. Like sometimes it hurts our eyes, and it is like, that flash of light. It can be painful. It can bring us to our knees, like right back down to the ground in an instant from our very high pedestal or tower that we've constructed with our own, lies or things that weren't aligned with us or with our true like self, our truthfulness, our true fullness and our truthfulness. So it's just interesting, like little interesting links and things that I'm just like blown away by. But there's so many cool things really every day. So it's not all hard, and it's like it's all right. So the lightning, and the tower, and the rainbow, clouds, volcano. So volcano, I kept getting volcano this week as well. Like, and so what's coming up from the surface? What's rising? What's being stirred? And is it potentially explosive? And so like, let's watch our words, and let's like watch ourselves. Like, so yesterday I like picked up a book from the shelf that I hadn't looked at in a while, and it was Sacred Contracts by Caroline Mace. And I opened to something about the 7th house, and it was about marriage and relationships. And that's all what it's been about for me, like lately. Like, it has been. So there was this little thing in there that was like, oh, isn't that the truth too? So I'll read that to you first, and then I'll share a little bit of what came in. And so and what I was kind of grieving or letting go of this morning. So if I can find it. Maybe I'll come back to it. But it was pretty awesome, actually. So I'll just go from here. We'll just be right here. Here we are. Right here. So just like going through some things and looking at like some of the themes and some of the different things that I want to look into. Somnambulism, sleepwalkers, when we're sleepwalking, like we're eating and we're sleeping and we're interacting, but we're not really all there. We're not really all home, in certain ways. And we're on autopilot, or there's some other part of us that's like, dominating like the other parts. And maybe to protect us or to guard us or that we enslave us, who knows. But just kind of looking at those things, and like somnambulism, sleepwalkers of the dead, artificial conformity. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you feel it? Life is quickening. Or have you chosen waking death, comfortable sleep and slavery? But what else is possible? What else is true? What can be considered and what can be broken through? Is this your soul's initiation that leads you back to you? I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love and I thank you. I love and I bless you. I love and I praise you. I bless, I celebrate you. I honor and respect you. I salute and care for you. And I say again with gratitude, thank you. So remembering gratitude. Thank you. Wishing you well and best of luck to you. Be well on your journey. Enjoy your adventure and your path back to you. All one, all you. So just like remembering that, yes. So seeing some of these stories come up, like some of my mythologies and some of my wounded stories, like through that wounded lens, through that body of pain, come up again and again. And I'll just call in the witness and like watch them and see how to redirect my energy. And so some of them were coming up the other day, and I was just like, okay, that's weird. Just kind of looking at it like, I wonder why, like, I'm feeling this way right now. And it's just like, is this really true? What's more true? And it's just like, oh, thank you for all we did get to share, instead of like looking at the lack of what like I didn't get, or like that wasn't available, or that just wasn't viable, and just like instead of like focusing on that, like the not enough, just got to say, oh, thank you for all we did get to share and all we got to share and all that, like it's really the gift that it was, so I could learn like to show up here and show up for myself and accept the invitation, to hold myself and to be love for myself and all of that. So that was like super helpful to remember that, like, thank you. Like, instead of, I don't want to feel this way and I don't like that this is like coming up again. It's just like, oh, okay, there it is. And then it's like, it's getting easier. Just to kind of transmute and like let it move, instead of like debating with the ego about it, or like trying to fix it, or trying to make it feel better or something, trying to make it into something that it's not, or something that I think it should be, instead of what it is and that I haven't maybe seen. So that's pretty awesome. I'll just go on from here. So if you feed the fears and play the hate, shame, blame game, then they will start to feed upon you. This perpetual suffering of you versus you. Will you wake up, or will you choose snooze, denying all the gifts that's been given to you? Denying all the gifts that have been given to you. Will you remember, shine, emanate, radiate, awaken, participate, renew and engage, rejuvenate, regenerate? Or will you degenerate, disintegrate, and denigrate, and return to the known safe comfort zones, the inverted ways of learned operating, taking zero responsibility and forfeiting your birthright to behold your potential? So the rise, the center, and the fall. So I just wrote myself down some reminders to remind myself, like, empowerment, like actions, inspiration, and creation. There's no such thing as a work-free transformation or a transaction. Love, service, trust, faith, and humility. I am enough, she is enough, we are enough, life is enough, love is enough. We are worthy and we are all right to be. We are enough, so let it be. Listening, surrendering, opening, and softening. Write a new story. Start a new project. Project a true new image and a true reality. Sing a new tune, one aligned with all of you. Don't make assumptions. Let go of control. Be here right now. Trust and let go. Be impeccable with my word. Follow the whispers of my soul. Always do my best. Choose love for me and we. Through being true, through being love for all of me. No need to take things personally or take myself so seriously. No need to fear or worry about anything, about what others may think, believe, perceive, receive, or think about me. Just looking at the patterns, dynamics, and mental gymnastics of the martyr, the judge, the pleaser, the idealist, the epicure, and all of those. Interesting observations, realizations, insights, and ahas, little breakthroughs in a bigger picture, a wider focus and perspective. So thank you, story. Thank you, love. Thank you for all we got to share. Gratitude and non-judgment, trust, faith, grace, willingness, surrender, innocence, and wisdom. Remembering that this is for us all. Remembering that one love is for us all. And letting go of my need to defend me, my need to be right, letting go of my need to be seen, letting go of the need to prove that I am worthy, letting go of the need to please or be pleased, letting go of the need to blame and make the other wrong in some way. We think others will judge us as we have judged us and ourselves. We have no freaking clue what another sees, experiences, and goes through in this tragic, romantic, dramatic, funny, and frantic human journey and experience. This spiritual growing always up. This beautiful trip, this magical place, this gift we've been given to experience, be, live, and dream. To be loved and loved simultaneously. Love being love, and love loving love. Be love, being love. The mirror in the light, reflected, playing hide and seek. The sun cats, touch sun, soak up the sun. The moon, the mirror, the companion, and the high priestess. Psyche and Eros, healing the wounded feminine, relax into love. I am enough, I am worthy, we are enough. The secrets and mysteries, initiations and keys, stages, phases, cycles, steps, magic and possibilities. Alchemical play, reaching out to others, sharing love, listening, opening, softening, being willing, accepting, allowing, accountability, surrendering, witnessing, transforming and transmuting, self-importance, self-pity, the tyrant, victim, martyr, slave, epicure stories, wishing I was important, the idealist and the horror, watching these old stories and the programs of I'm not enough scripts, those descriptions and those old scripts play out. And it's funny seeing into things that I hadn't seen before because I'm considering what I had not before. I'm willing to bring it all back to me, return to me with love, humility, and integrity. So, it doesn't really matter how others see me or perceive my ways of being me. It's not all really about me. No need to take things personally or agree with projections or shadow dumping. Practice healthy boundaries, the square, the earth, the ability to hold and bear with all people and things. The center, remember, responsibility, structure, root, support, receptivity, trust and accountability, deep listening and surrendering, compassion, love and understanding, self-love, self-care, self-becoming, and growing, living, enjoying, being, giving and receiving, becoming whole. The cheerleader and reassurance, a pat on the forehead. Separation anxiety, it's all okay. I am right here. So, that's like kind of like the stuff that was coming up because it's like, there's that wounded child part of me, that orphan, and that outsider that wants to make sure she's safe and secure, and it's just strange. It's just a strange time right now. And it's just like, I know I'm safe and I know I know I have everything I need right now. And I know I'm loved and I know I'm supported. But it's just interesting that these old patterns are coming up. And it's just like, Yeah, like, or being activated in some way. And so I just get to pay attention and respond and choose my own ways. Yeah, choose my own playback. And so, oh yeah, so there was like this dream that I was having this morning, but I don't really remember a lot. And it was about like fertility, and someone was shooting blanks. And so it was like, in a way, like a continuing theme of like my other dreams I had last week. But it wasn't with guns this time. It was like shooting blanks, as in like, you know, no sperm or whatever. And so it was like, oh, okay, like, what's this about? Like, what's this self-impotence about? And misdirected energy, or energy leaks or drains. And I don't really know. Like, what am I missing? I don't really know. Okay, then. What may be, like, misfiring or being misfired? And I accidentally wrote misfried. And so I was like, oops, fried. Like, I'm just feeling fried, maybe. And, yeah, misfried and misfired. And I was like, okay, where are the wires crossed? Where's the crossed wires? What am I resisting the most? And just like looking at those things, and just start right here where I'm at, where the wild things are. And so I was just kind of looking at stuff, and like I did have some like emotions, like uncomfortable emotions come up, and just kind of feeling like discouraged a little bit. But I know everything's all right, really. But like there's this discouraging story of despair that was coming up. And so I was just like, okay. And just like, yeah, just feeling sad, like, for people, and like, because there is a lot of suffering and pain, you know, and it's just like sometimes we want to avoid that suffering and pain, and maybe it is necessary, though, in certain ways for us to be able to awaken and respond, you know. Something's got to get our attention, like, yeah. So it's just like, okay, it is as it's meant to be, like, God help us, like, yeah, through this dark night of the soul, and through our awakening and remembering who we are. And so just kind of looking at some of the archetypes coming up that I hadn't seen come up for a while. Like, I hadn't seen the ghost come up for a while, and the ghost emerged again. And so did the zombie. And so that kind of made me look into some things, like, yeah, but I'll just go ahead and read, yeah, what I have written here that I wrote this morning. And ghost, zombie, monster, villain, tyrant, judge, victim, mother superior, know-it-all, father knows best, beast, system, the outsider. Zombie Awareness Month? What the fuck? Zombie Preparedness Month? What the fuck? Swabs for your blood-brain barrier and anal swabs to boot? Third eye temperature checks and medical sodomy too. Yeah. Sleepwalkers, ghostwalkers, walking dead goobers of statism, scientism, and transhumanism. The zombie apocalypse train wreck, madness, and apathy. No critical thinking, no original thought, total mind control programming, self-deceit, and ego trickery. Survival strategies and implanted beliefs, fear and shame stories that reinforce this victim-judge tyrant. Lack inverted reality. False virtues and fixed moralism, false stories and forced puritanism, false light and distorted lenses and perceptions. Choose what you will. This old chapter has ended. Closure, completion, ending, transcended. A new chapter, a new story, new beginnings, new focus, new opportunities, new gifts, and new blessings, new patterns, and a new reality. So, yeah, just looking at the stories, and just like, yeah, the seeming train wreck out there on the outer stage. So, focus on the gifts and the new possibilities, the new directions, new ways of operating, new ways of being in the world, but not of it. Love is the remedy. Aligned. Yeah, a new reality aligned with cosmic law and God's will. And it feels rather depressing. I feel rather depressed. Or I'm noticing, acknowledging feelings of depression and sadness. To see all these people, like, so very brainwashed, asleep, and entranced, and clinging so tightly to their hand-me-down stories and myths, roles, ideologies, beliefs, identities, and ego survival strategies, psychological and mental rigidities, and cultural, social, psychological, generational conditioning, patterning, programming. I acknowledge my feelings of sadness, depression, and frustration and exasperation. I don't know what to do about any of that, and all the fuckery that this misdirected unconscious energy props up, reinforces, and perpetuates the wounds of separation. A feeling of helplessness and powerlessness, so very disempowering. Savior, victim, judge, martyr, tyrant mentality. The outsider. So what the fuck do I get to choose around all of that? So allow them their own discovery and their own soul journey back to themselves. Allow them their distortions and their misperceptions and their self-centered projections, their assumptions, their idolatry, their miscommunications and misunderstandings, their agendas, their directions, their mistakes, their ignorance, arrogance, potential strengths, and follies, their lessons, growth, and expansion, or contractions, and love them as they are. Love them near or far, love them and forgive them. They have forgotten who they are. Have patience and choose all I need so I can be at one, at peace with me, in harmony with my whole being. Love is who we are. I am. Love is who I am. Completion and compassion. Faith, trust, strength, and passion. Surrender, pray, bless, thank. Let go, to release. Choose something else more truly aligned with me. Choose something more true that feels right for me. Let go and let God. Let go, be free. Thank you, I'm free. Thank you, love, for everything. Thank you for this remembering. Thank you for this dismembering stage and for this journey in its full entirety. Thank you, I let go. I'm willing to be all that I am at one with, in, through all that I be. One love at peace, one love through being, all that I am as one within me. As one within me, thee, we, and she. Separation, farewells, transition, completion. I am willing to honor and allow this completion. I dissolve and surrender my residual resistance. I surrender all now to God. Let it be all that it is for all that we be. May it bless, may it serve, may it liberate we. May it help us remember who we want to be. May it help us remember to be who we need. May it help us awaken to show up and be all this love that we are, all this love for all we. Thank you for this ending, completion, and beginning. I humbly ask for help and assistance to let go and trust in my purpose and mission, acceptance, to be here right now as love and presence. May all beings be freed and their hearts fully liberated. May all beings be freed, and may my own thoughts, words, deeds, and actions contribute to this happiness, joy, and freedom for all. May we all become wholly liberated. The best is yet to come. Amen. So it is, and so it shall be. So just kind of looking at those things and just like, yeah, it's okay, like to feel sad right now and to honor my tears and to let them move through me and to let them be released. And so, yeah, I was feeling like, okay, this is okay. And then just watching, just like as other stories would come up today, and yeah, just dissolving the old layers and shedding the old skin. Endurance and fortitude to begin again. And just going back to look at the handless maiden and just being open to receive what's here and what's being given. And so I went back and I looked at the handless maiden, and I had shared the bargain without knowing. And I kind of looked at that again, and there were like certain things that stood out to me, and I just wanted to share a few of those things. Where the mother in the handless maiden, she's the one that, kind of realizes, like, oh my God, like, look what's happened. Look at what's happened. Wake up, look what you've done, kind of a thing. She was the wishy-washy mother of the psyche, and she had helped like dilute and to dull the feeling function, and she just awakened to the horrible meaning of the bargain. Wake up and see what you've done. And everybody wakes up so fast that it hurts. And so yeah, sometimes it's like that, like the tower. Sometimes we wake up so fast that it really does, like, it's very painful. And it's like, it's good that we have the ground underneath us, now. But sometimes the waking up is gradual, and We'll have some of that to go into. So everybody wakes up so fast that it hurts, but still it's good news. Now a woman's pain is conscious. When it is conscious, she can do something with it. She can use it. She can use it to learn with, to grow strong with, and to become a knowing woman. Over the long term, there will be even better news yet. That which has been given away can be reclaimed. It can be restored to its proper place in the psyche. You will see. You will believe. The best is yet to come. And so there is this little footnote that I looked at, and from this story where it said, like, everyone wakes up so fast that it hurts. So I went and I looked at that, and it says waking up gradually, that is, taking down one's defenses slowly and over a period of time, is less painful than having one's defenses penetrated all at once. However, in a therapeutic or a reparative mode, though faster is more painful initially, the work can sometimes commence and be brought to fruition sooner. However, each to their own and in their own way. And then there was something else like that I saw when I was looking at these cliff notes. So being the outsider that relates. The handless maiden and the girl with the golden hair that I shared a couple weeks ago, or last month, and the little match girl, they face identical issues of being in some way the outsider. The self has many centers of consciousness, or the self has many centers for consciousness in the psyche. The psyche is always in at least 3 stages. The old fallen down part, the part that we live in, and the part under construction. And so, yeah, that was really cool. And I do have like one more little thing to share about like the bargain without knowing. And then my beef, like that I continued with, I could just been looking into, okay, why does that like stupidity like trigger me so much? Like just the asinine conclusions and like the half-baked logic that's being used, and yeah, the ridiculousness that could have passed as satire, like maybe even like last year, but yeah, it isn't. Like irony isn't seen or it doesn't seem to be seen, yeah, in certain ways. And so that's what I have about the bargain without knowing. The poorest bargain of our lives that we make is when we forfeit our deep knowing life for one that is far more frail, when we give up our teeth, our claws, our sense, our scent, when we surrender our wilder natures for a promise of something that seems rich but turns out to be hollow instead. We make this bargain without realizing the sorrow, the pain, and the dislocation it will cause us. We can be smart in the ways of the world and still choose the poor bargain, and this could be seen as a pathologically self-destructive act, but it far more turns into a watershed event that brings vast opportunity to redevelop the power of the instinctive nature. In this respect, though, there is loss and sadness. This is a planned event by the self in order to bring a woman deep into her wildness. It's initiation and a rite of passage. And so I was just like, wow. So that was from Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And yeah, I just needed to write down like that part because it just seemed profound, and just wanted to like go back and reference it and have that there. And so yeah, just looking at that, the bargain without knowing, and seeing that like, yeah, this is, it's an opportunity and it's an invitation for us, yeah, to show up for ourselves, or for us to become aware, and for us to know ourselves, and yeah, go through this dark night of the soul, yeah, to develop and grow ourselves so that we can know ourselves and love ourselves and free ourselves and be ourselves. And so yeah, it is the initiation, and that is like this journey of you back to you. Yeah, and of we, like returning home to we, and remembering who we are and who we get to be, who we can choose to be, yeah, who we are becoming. So yeah, like in the endurance and the fortitude. So what I found on the ignorance, like, was back in the same place I was looking at these cliff notes. Like, yeah, sometimes like everyone wakes up so fast that it hurts. And then I was just kind of kept looking like at these cliff notes. So ignorance. My grandmother Catherine said the most ignorant one is not she who does not know, but the one who does not know that she does not know. And the person in even worse condition and more of a danger to others is the one who knows she does not know and does not care. Yeah, this is so, yeah, I thought that was interesting. Like, because it does seem like what was kind of, yeah, angering me the most was like the willful ignorance or like the stubborn resistance to it, to certain things. And so, yeah, I get to return to me and see where I can clear those distortions within me. So, like, yeah. And then just let other people be willfully ignorant if that's what they choose to be. And so, because it's not, yeah, it's not up to me, yeah, to tell them what they need to see. Like, they get to choose and they get to receive what they choose, you know. And yeah, I get to respond to me, take care of me. And so, what I did get to read today, too, or yesterday, when I flipped open my Sacred Contracts book, yesterday, I just, yeah, opened it, and it was about, like, the 7th house, about marriage and relationships. And, yeah, she did go into, that was an interesting thing, and so I wrote down this little quote, and then I actually did go back today to just, like, yeah, because I thought there might be something else in there, and there sure was. Like, right after I wrote all of this, then there is, like, exactly what I needed in there, and I wanted to share, like, what came through, and just, like, wow, how cool, how perfect it was. So this is what I read yesterday. The 7th house, like, relates to Libra and the scales. And so, like, and that was also kind of like in my dream that I had the other day. It was like showing me different things on the micro level and the macro level. It was like on those scales. And so we invest great energy in enjoying, maintaining, or recovering from our relationships, and in the process we learn more about our motivations. One of the healthiest gifts we can give ourselves is to constantly monitor our reasons for being critical and controlling. The challenge is to allow others to be themselves regardless of our fear or insecurity. Maintain your core relationship to yourself and live according to the truth that the greatest gift you can give another is a fully healthy self. Your own. Yeah, Caroline Mace. And so I was just like, yeah, that's true. Like, what I can do for others, yeah, is to take care of myself. Yeah, like, and that's like recovering from this like shadow caregiver like role and identity. Yeah, it's been hard for me like to maybe be seen as selfish. Like, I need to take care of myself right now. Like, yeah, and that's not a bad thing. Like, yeah, but I don't know, like, sometimes it is seen as like something that we shouldn't do, or something that we aren't able to choose because, yeah, we put ourselves last and other people first. So when we do put ourselves first, we may be seen as selfish, but it's actually selfless. So fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, problem, reaction, solution. And like certain movies have been coming up to like metaphor ways, like, so the Green Mile is like, yeah, a pretty good one that moves me a lot. But I have a hard time like watching certain movies now with certain actors in them. But yeah, so when John Coffey, the character that was in prison, like, and he was wrongly accused of this crime of murder, like, he saw what had happened, like, to these two innocents, these two girls with golden hair, you know, and it like just, yeah, the pain that he was carrying about it, like because of all the brutality of the world and everything, like that this evil man had killed these two sisters, these loving little lights of innocent with their own love. Like he killed them with their love. So and it's like emotional exploitation. Like, and that's like, something that hurts deeply, is being emotionally exploited or betrayed like that. And and all those things. So it does have a lot to do with that, and like some of that pain and resentment as well. Like, why can't you see like what's happening here? Like, but it is like, because it's all backwards and all upside down, so we get to turn it around and return to ourselves, return to love, and be that love for ourselves. And so, after I had written down all those things, and then I actually like started reading, some amazing things. And I'll start Return of the Orphan. And actually, like, where I did start though, was the Prostitute, the Guardian of Faith. So there's all these like, amazing like synchronicities like that around like guardians and different things. And so, the Prostitute, and I usually refer to her as the whore because I like that, just feels better to me. That feels like more correct. And I asked my husband like years ago to cross stitch this for me. He does cross stitching because like I've always identified with the whore. It's a whore, sweet whore. Just to remind me like that she's an ally of mine and she can help me like see where I'm might be selling myself short. So super appreciate that. So the Prostitute, or the whore, guardian of faith, and I'll come back to that. And this is all about our survival archetypes, the shadow and the divine potential, shadow contracts, and confronting the shadow. And all of that I read, and then came into the Return of the Orphan. So, and it's all about empowerment or disempowerment. And so we could probably reduce all our struggles with empowerment, such as those of Lucy and Mari, to our need to transform the abandoned, wounded, or dependent aspect of our child archetype to one that is healthy and self-sufficient. Because fairy tales and children's stories are such a rich source of insight into the innate courage and power that is contained within our archetypes, I find the clearest depiction of this transformation in the modern fable, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. In this well-known story, Dorothy has to seek out aspects of herself that she didn't know she had, including courage and intelligence well beyond those of the young orphan who left her Aunt Auntie Em back in Kansas. Seen as an archetypal adventure, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz presents the challenges of survival that we all face on our own yellow brick roads. In the book by L. Frank Baum, originally published in 1900, and the 1939 MGM movie starring Judy Garland, Dorothy is, like so many heroes of fairy tales and folk stories, literally the orphan child. Because she does not fit into the conventional tribe, her consciousness is her own to develop from the beginning. As the story opens, a cyclone is approaching, representing the chaos that is the classic precursor to transformation. As the cyclone looms menacingly, Dorothy runs to the storm cellar, trying to return to the tribe before the chaos, but they don't hear her and in effect won't allow it. Dorothy runs back into the house with her beloved dog Toto, whom she is holding on her bed as the cyclone lifts the house into the air. She bangs her head on the headboard, losing consciousness. In symbolic archetypal terms, a house represents the whole of the self, from the subconscious in the basement to the superego in the attic. The whole of Dorothy's life is lifted off in the chaos and begins to spin, to be symbolically reconstituted. Having to undertake the hero's journey, she has awakened her charism, the special grace that will see her through her ordeal of growth. Dorothy's journey takes her to Oz, where the house crashes down, and she says famously to Toto, "I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore." She begins to sense that she has been separated from her familiar environment, that what is going on is happening only to her, not to the tribe, and that she has to find within herself the strength and courage to endure what is coming. For the first time, she sees little munchkins who represent fragments of herself. Like any hero, adventurer, or spiritual seeker starting on the journey of self-discovery, Dorothy asks questions. Where am I? And how do I get home? The munchkins tell her that she has to go to Oz, in essence, to go on a journey to an unknown destination. Dorothy's guardian for the journey is Toto, the Latin word for everything. And so Toto is an extension of Dorothy. He is her intuition, an archetypal image of a guardian. In shamanic terms, we would say that Toto is her power animal. Toto is also Dorothy's reminder that everything she needs is always with her, if she'll just stay aware of what's going on. All spiritual traditions emphasize the need to keep your attention in the present time. As long as you remain present, everything you need is present with you. As soon as you project yourself back through the rest of your life, you begin to manifest a sense of vulnerability and insecurity characterized by fear of failure. Projection is the act of taking your present moment and stretching it across a lifetime, an impossible formula that will always leave you powerless. Then Dorothy meets the Munchkin leader, who represents the unified self emerging to give her direction. Even as you feel lost and ask, "Where am I?" a part of your interior self immediately arises to give an answer. In Dorothy's case, the answer is to go to Oz. As she undertakes her hero's journey, the 4 archetypes of survival, child, victim, prostitute, and saboteur, enter the playing field. Dorothy's orphan child has been leading to this point, her basic theme being, "I'm a child, I've lost my way, I've got to get home." But the forces around her say, "You're on your own, kid, and it's time for you to grow up." At this point in the film, although not in the original book, the 2 witches arrive on the scene, representing shadow and light. The Wicked Witch of the East says, "I want your dog Toto," meaning that she wants to deprive Dorothy of her guardian. When the Wicked Witch goes after Toto in anger, Dorothy becomes frightened and her victim emerges. Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, holds off the Wicked Witch and gives Dorothy the famous ruby slippers. Those shoes represent another charism or grace that will see Dorothy through her journey to Oz. The book, which calls them silver shoes, makes it clear that Dorothy never takes them off. She is so comfortable with them that she even sleeps in them, making it hard for the witch to get them away from her. When the Wicked Witch says, "I want those ruby slippers," she is waking up Dorothy's prostitute. What the witch is actually saying to Dorothy is, at any given time, you can get off that difficult road if you will sell those shoes. That's the bargain. Every time you are given a new charism or a clearer sense of self, the prostitute will test you to see if you're willing to sell your new spiritual power for material gain of some sort. It's as though you've won the lottery and somebody calls you up and asks if you'd like to invest in some swampland in Florida. That's also where the saboteur comes in. Are you going to sabotage your personal growth for a little comfort, or will your inner saboteur alert you to the danger in time to keep you on the yellow brick road? The next person Dorothy meets is the Scarecrow, who complains that he doesn't have a brain. Her interaction with the Scarecrow represents a dialogue with her own intelligence, in which for the first time she has to assess her intellectual reality. As an extension of her inner self, the Scarecrow will also have to go to Oz to get a brain, and so they set off together. Down the road, they meet the Tin Woodman, who has rusted into immobility, and who, once lubricated, complains that he needs a heart. In symbolic terms, Dorothy also needs to awaken the sense of love and compassion that lies within. Both the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodsman were dormant until Dorothy awakened them and herself to the need to go on the hero's journey to gain what they were essentially lacking. Along the way, they meet the Cowardly Lion, who is immobilized by fear. The lion lacks courage, which is a function of self-esteem and is related to will and choice. On their journey to Oz, Dorothy encounters many difficulties and detours, each of which arouses the victim archetype in her. She can act like a victim and give in, or she can call on her companions and guides for help, which she does on several occasions. The most dangerous obstacle is the field of poppies, which causes her to fall into a deep sleep along with the lion and Toto. Certain realities are too much for us to handle on a conscious level, and so we must process them in an unconscious state, say in dreams or deep sleep. When Jesus took his 12 apostles to the Garden of Gethsemane, and asked them to stay awake and watch with him, for example, they couldn't do it. It's as though the force field of anguish that he was giving off was too much for them to bear, and they fell into unconsciousness. You may notice yourself that if you're reading a book or attending a lecture that deals with spiritually or psychologically heavy material, you may fall asleep, perhaps aided by a boring lecturer. A similar phenomenon also occurs during healing services when certain people go down under the power, meaning that they lapse into momentary unconsciousness so that the healing can take place on a deeper level. It's just like letting go of that resistance, like that's a way to do it. Some old wounds that are being healed may be too traumatic to be addressed consciously. Some old wounds that are being healed may be too traumatic to be addressed consciously. Dorothy's transition from childhood to adulthood, from orphan child to hero, is going to require not only grace, but also a healing of her past, which is accomplished in part in the unconscious state. Dorothy and her companions eventually arrive at Oz and go before the wizard. As any good spiritual master would do, he immediately puts them to the test, saying that he won't help them unless they bring back the broom of the Wicked Witch. The paradox here is that you will always have a test to invoke grace, and you need grace to pass the test. You can't just suddenly become courageous. You have to act out courage to know you have courage. When they go to the Wicked Witch's dark castle to get the broom, Dorothy is captured, just as during our own spiritual development. Even if we get past our desires, we always get captured in some way by our fears and feel isolated and abandoned. The prison in the dark castle is reminiscent of the dark forest through which Dorothy passed on her way to Oz in search of integration. The prison in the dark castle is reminiscent of the dark forest through which Dorothy passed on her way to Oz in search of integration. The dark forest is a time-honored image of the dangers of the search for self. In Dante's Divine Comedy, another allegorical account of a spiritual journey from the lower regions through purgatory to paradise, the hero went through the dark wood of error. When stuck in a dark wood or prison, we need to look to the Saboteur, who reminds us that we must keep the faith and not give in to our fears. But at each stage of our journey, Dorothy is able to call on the Lion, the Tin Woodman, and the Scarecrow to rescue her. In effect, she is calling on her own courage, will, and heart, which she is in the process of unifying. Her own courage, will, and heart. As her three companions are trying to rescue Dorothy, the witch shows up and sets fire to the Scarecrow, beginning her attack on the intellectual level, as often happens when we try to follow a spiritual path. The mind says, "This is ridiculous. People couldn't possibly get enlightened by sitting on a cushion and closing their eyes." But Dorothy picks up a bucket of water representing her unconscious and throws it on the witch, thereby making herself self-conscious. As the water hits the witch, she chides Dorothy for doing the one thing that could free her of the witch's power, and then she melts away. As soon as Dorothy calls on her unconscious, the whole world that had once scared her dissolves, and she sees only safety. Dorothy and her companions return to Oz, feeling totally successful. They bring the broom to the wizard, only to be told that it's not enough. Toto the Guardian will not accept their rejection and says, in effect, "This is wrong. You have to see that it's fraudulent. I'm going to show you." And the Guardian goes over and pulls the curtain hiding the role-playing wizard, showing Dorothy that she does not need to rely on a shadow guru to do her spiritual work for her. In fact, if you project your own needs and fantasies onto a guru, you may end up getting burned. Exposed, the wizard is forced to make good on his promises and help Dorothy find her way home from Oz. Although Oz represents the achievement of spiritual power and independence, it's essentially meaningless unless she can bring back home what she has learned and apply it to her everyday life. Spiritual insight is not an end in itself, but a means to transform our life on Earth from mere survival and dominance into compassion and service to others. Dorothy is now confronted with yet another test, this one regarding false power. Even though the wizard has been less than forthcoming on his promises, Dorothy is planning to accept his guidance and accompany him in his hot air balloon. That's an ironic choice of vehicle. But Toto, following his nature by pursuing a squirrel, jumps out of the basket as if to say, "Let's get out of here." Dorothy has the good sense not to want to be separated from her guardian and runs after Toto, allowing the wizard to leave without her. Having made one good choice, Dorothy is rewarded by the appearance of her other guardian, Glinda, the Good Witch of the North. Glinda reminds Dorothy that she has had the power to return home all along, only she didn't know it. The ruby slippers, which have not left her feet since she first put them on, are all she needs. Her words are reminiscent of the Buddhist teaching that we are already perfect Buddhas. We just didn't realize it. We just don't realize it. And so we act like unenlightened children. If we truly knew we possessed Buddha nature or Christ consciousness or God realization, we would be home free. Dorothy clicks her heels together as instructed and chants the mantra her angel guardian gives her. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. In L. Frank Baum's original text, the exchange is even clearer than in the film version. Your silver shoes will carry you over the desert, replied Glinda. If you had known their power, you could have gone back to your Auntie Em the first day you came to this country. But then I should not have met my wonderful... but then I should not have had my wonderful brains, cried the Scarecrow. I might have passed my whole life in that farmer's cornfield. And I should not have had my lovely heart, said the Tin Woodman. I might have stood and rested in the forest till the end of the world. And I should have lived a coward forever, declared the Lion, and no beast in all the forest would have a good word to say to me. This is all true, said Dorothy, and I am glad I was of use to these good friends, but now that each of them has had what he most desired, and each is happy and having a kingdom to rule besides, I think I should like to go back to Kansas. The silver shoes, said the good witch, have wonderful powers, and one of the most curious things about them is that they can carry you to any place in the world in 3 steps, and each step will be made in the wink of an eye. All you have to do is knock the heels together 3 times and command the shoes to carry you wherever you wish to go. Dorothy has completed her hero's journey, comes to terms with her 4 survival archetypes, and with courage consolidated her mind, heart, and will. Her most challenging adversary, the Wicked Witch, has proved to be the one who did the most to expand her soul. And so Dorothy wakes up safe in her bed right back in Kansas with the same foster parents with whom she had been so disenchanted at the beginning of the story. Only now she embraces them wholeheartedly. Dorothy appears to be in the same physical reality, but is not. She is fully transformed. She emerges not as the frightened little orphan child, but as an intelligent, fully awakened heart consciousness in the same body. She has returned whole from chaos and her journey. Our work essentially has the same goal. By learning to recognize the archetypal patterns that work within your psyche, which I will teach you in Chapter 5, you can begin to view your life symbolically rather than taking every interaction personally and viewing it only on the physical plane. Like the lion, you need courage to look at the victim archetype within you and learn to make it your ally. You need the heart that the Tin Woodman sought so that you can love yourself when you see the prostitute at work in your psyche and to turn it to your advantage. And the intellect that the Scarecrow prized so highly can work with your saboteur to recognize the warning signs that you are about to do yourself in. When you tie those together, you can, like Dorothy, use your will to transform the child within, whether abandoned, wounded, or dependent, into an empowered being capable of directing your own life with passion and skill. For then you have the elements of the soul, the eternal self, and you are on your way to discovering your spiritual identity. So, yeah, I thought that was like freaking amazing story to include here, and I so appreciated that. And I just wrote down like just a couple notes because I thought that was cool, like the shadow guru, the wizard, and the false power, and the witch, because those were certain archetypes that had been coming up the last 2 days, and I had written them down, and that's just kind of fun, like to see all of them popping up in certain ways through through all these ways. And so the child within is like Dorothy, and the Tin Man had to corresponded to the heart and the horror, and the Scarecrow, the will and the saboteur, and the lion, courage and the victim, and the guardians, like Toto, everything, an extension of Dorothy, and Glinda, symbolic of the light and the angelic side, or the Buddha nature, the angel nature. Yeah, and the witch, like, of the West, like, our fears and desires, the adversary, like, and the shadow. Yeah. Like confronting that and like facing death. So I thought that was like amazing. Like I was super like wow, blown away by it, and just grateful for the confirmation. And I'll just share this little bit about the prostitute, the guardian of faith. The act of prostitution is generally associated with selling one's body for money, but to my mind, that is perhaps the least significant example of the prostitute archetype. The prostitute thrives most bountifully in subtle ways and in ordinary, everyday circumstances. It comes into play most clearly when our survival is threatened. Its core issue is how much you are willing to sell of yourself, your morals, your integrity, your intellect, your word, your body, or your soul for the sake of physical security. The prostitute archetype also dramatically embodies and tests the power of faith. If you have faith, no one can buy you. You know that you can take care of yourself and also that the divine is looking out for you. Without faith, however, you will eventually meet the price you cannot turn down. The majority of prostitutes that I have met and continue to meet are men and women who are either in bad marriages or in miserable jobs. Their inability to move out of their toxic environments is totally tied to economics. Women have told me that they do not want to be middle-aged and single or lose their social status or have to support themselves, so they stay in unhappy marriages. Men tell me this too, but not nearly as often. And both men and women say that they remain in jobs that make them miserable or sick, violate their ethics, or make them feel bad about themselves for the sake of financial security. I almost said for the fake, for the fake of the financial security. It's so, yeah, how many friendships or how many relationships or how many miserable relationships do we stay in because we don't want to be alone, or because it feels there's some kind of security there or familiarity or comfort there. So many people tell me how unhappy they are and that they are waiting for just the right moment in their lives to make the big break and follow their dreams. Most often, these are the people who ask again and again, but what exactly is my contract? If only I only knew if I could get on with it. And these people are actually hoping that I can direct them on a path that will guarantee them money and peace of mind. They want to hear that their contract will give them all the time in the world, all the money they need while doing only what they want, a cabin retreat in the woods, and last but not least, a soulmate. They also never want to age. The energies and expectations of the prostitute, child, and victim all have to be addressed. So all the expectations. All power, whether from lottery winnings or spiritual visions, will draw to you some outside opponent who will try to buy, use, or contaminate you. When Jesus was met by Satan as he prayed and fasted in the desert, Satan offered to give him the entire physical world in exchange for the power that Jesus now had within him. Likewise, every time you take one step on your path of personal empowerment, you will meet someone who will want to buy a piece of your soul to render you less powerful and themselves more powerful. A shadow characteristic of the human psyche in general is that we want to find the shortcuts in life, including shortcuts to our own empowerment. If we spot someone whose power appears as if it could be bought or shared, we will be attracted to it. A perfect example is the game of name wealth. I am a friend of a friend of Mr. and Mrs. Famous. The diluted energy that comes down this path of who's who, for many valuable enough for them to remain in a relationship long past the time the friendship has grown cold, another expression of the prostitute archetype. Confronting the prostitute within you transforms this archetype into your guardian. It will watch over your relationship to faith. Think of the prostitute as the ally who puts you on alert every time you contemplate shifting your faith from the divine to the physical. Anytime you are in a crisis of faith, try to become mindful of your thoughts and fears. Name exactly what you are afraid of, especially those fears that try to talk you into compromising yourself in any way. The prostitute appears when you begin to believe that you could order your life if you just had the money to control the world around you and to buy just a bit of everyone in it. It appears when you stay in a relationship that is not good for you just because you don't want to be alone. It appears when you stay in a relationship that is not good for you just because you don't want to be alone. It appears when you're asked to do something unethical or illegal for the good of the company. People who are meant to bring out the prostitute in you represent your most painful relationships. Because prostitute interactions make us confront our fears of survival, they are often terrifying and humiliating. Yeah. So I'll just leave it there with that one. And so it is like interesting too, like where that does go along with the bargain without knowing. When the father of the story of the handless maiden, he was starting to chop wood, and then a man approached him and offered him a bargain and said, You don't have to chop that. You don't have to chop for the rest of your life if you'll give me what's behind your shed, you know. And so we think, oh yeah, because we want it to be easy. And maybe the ego always like thinks, oh yeah, isn't there an easier way? And so it's like, yeah, that there is no such thing as a work-free transformation. Yeah, it's so, yeah, there you go. So the father in the story, let's see. We see the psyche's devastating underestimation of the value of the young elemental feminine when the father says of the apple tree, surely we can plant another. The psyche does not recognize its own creator goddess in her flowering tree embodiment. The young self is traded off without realizing her dearness or her role as root messenger for the wild mother. Yet it is in this breach of knowing that causes the initiation of endurance to begin. The unemployed miller, down on his luck, had begun to chop wood. It is hard work to chop wood, is it not? There is much heaving and hauling. Yet this chopping of wood symbolizes vast psychic resources, the ability to provide energy for one's tasks, to develop one's ideas, to bring the dream, whatever it may be, within reach. So when the miller begins to chop away, we could say the psyche has begun to do the very hard work of bringing light and warmth to itself. But the poor ego is always looking for an easy way out. When the devil suggests he will relieve the miller of hard work in exchange for the light of the deep feminine, the ignorant miller agrees. We still our own fates in this way. Deep in the wintry parts of our minds, we are hardy stock and know there is no such thing as a work-free transformation. We know that we will have to burn to the ground in one way or another, and then sit right in the ashes of who we once thought we were and go on from there. But another side of our natures, a part more desirous of languor, hopes it won't be so, hopes the hard work can cease so slumber can resume. When the predator comes along, we are already set up for him. We are relieved to imagine that maybe there is an easier way. When we shun the chopping of wood, the hands of the psyche will be chopped off instead, for without the psychic work, the psychic hands wither. But this desire for a bargain over hard work is so human and so common that it is amazing to find a person alive who has not made the compact. So what was meant to be the nutritive and flowering tree of the psyche loses power, loses its blossom, loses energy, it's sold out, it's forced into forfeiting its potential, not understanding the bargain it has made. The entire drama almost always begins and establishes its stronghold outside a woman's consciousness. Yet it must be emphasized that this is where everyone begins. In this tale, the father represents the outer world point of view, the collective ideal that pressures women to be wilted rather than wildish. Even so, there is no shame and no blame if you have given away the flowering boughs. Yes, you have suffered for it, no doubt, and you may have given it away for years, even for decades, but there is hope. So once a woman is conscious to her pain, now she can do something with it. Now she can grow with it. She can use it to learn with, to become a knowing woman. Over the long term, though, there will be even better news yet. That which has been given away can be reclaimed. It can be restored to its proper place in the psyche. You will see. And then the next stage is the dismemberment. So, and I'll share that next time. So, yesterday, I was looking at listening again, and where I could, practice listening a little more deeply. And I came to this page, exercise 40, being complete, listening beyond the past. Sometimes being complete is as simple as saying so. A new month, a new year, a new birth, even a death. These are times to think about new beginnings. We are offered another chance to start again, unencumbered by the past. This time it's going to be different as one of our frequent refrains. These reminders work for me for a little while, but then all too often I notice that I am back into old patterns where the new looks a lot like the familiar patterns of the past. I have discovered that sometimes the reason why nothing seems to change in my life is that something is unresolved in my past. I find that I am carrying my past with me into the future. And so I've learned to spend time taking stock of the past, acknowledging what happened, and looking to see what I need to do to bring it to completion. Sometimes being complete is as simple as saying so. Other times I write about issues in my journal, or I contact by letter, phone, or in person those with whom I am incomplete. This opens a fresh, clean place for creating. Our capacity to move beyond the past was demonstrated beautifully to me when I was in Cape Town, South Africa, attending the Parliament of the World's Religions. A black taxi driver told me that 10 years ago he would not have been allowed to drive. Now he can drive and even own his own car. He talked about his four children who are all in school, and he told me he was so happy they are learning English, which was not allowed to be taught to blacks during apartheid. He acknowledged the problems, and yet he was hopeful for the future. The past was not dominating his thinking. May we all start a new day complete with the past, so we will be free to create our future in peace and harmony with all that is. And that is from The Sacred Art of Listening by Kay Lindahl. She's the founder of the Listening Center. It's 40 reflections for cultivating a spiritual practice. So, completion. Sometimes it's as simple as saying so. This is complete, and I'm complete. And so that's what I choose for me. Thank you for this completion and this ending and this beginning and everything in between. So it is that time of the in-between and the transitioning. And so maybe next time I can share a little bit about my tarot card reading, because there was some good stuff in there, and it did affirm all of those things. And one card, let's see, was the Wheel of Fortune. And that was what may come to pass. Forces taking shape, which may or may not manifest depending on actions taken. So the Wheel of Fortune was in that position. And it meant, change. Yeah. And so change is the only constant there is. Like, seriously. We can initiate these changes for ourselves and move forward. Self-assessment and accountability. New doors are always opening in our lives, and we can choose which doors to walk through. Go with the flow, and we grow. Growth and fulfillment come from living a life in tune with the cycles and rhythms of nature. The past is a part of our future. What we are today comes from yesterday, and what we do tomorrow will depend on what we choose today. At the same time, we must take responsibility for whatever comes around. So, what are we choosing? Yeah. And I was using the Mystical Tarot by Rosemary Ellen Guiley, to interpret and to read like some of those divinatory meanings. I'm familiar with a lot of the archetypal meanings, but not all of the divinatory meanings, because I haven't really done a lot of those the last little while. And so that's what I get to choose for myself, and just having fun practicing and playing with that, and just choosing what feels right for me, and showing up for me, and being love for me, and doing my best, and setting me free, freeing up my energy, and honoring me, doing my best to let go and be free, and to respond to what love is asking me, to respond to what my heart needs, to care for my well-being and my totality, so my completion. So feeling more at peace and at ease, and just remembering that grace that is available and that will help us through this. The only way, the only way out is through. So, just go in, in, out, and through. So, that's all I have to share for now. And thanks for listening and being here now. All right, I love you. I thank you. I praise you. I celebrate you. And I wish you all well. I wish you the best possible gift. Yeah. And the best possible outcome. Yeah. For all. Okay, love y'all. We'll see you later. Bye for now.